Patty Seyburn is a poet and professor who has published 5 collections of poetry. Threshold Delivery from Finishing Line Press is her most recent, and before that, Perfecta from What Books Press, the Glass Table Collective. Those of you who are here for Gail Ronsky's reading, that's her press. Other one, Hilarity and Mechanical Cluster from Ohio State, and Diasporatic from Helicon 9. She earned a BS and an MS in journalism from Northwestern University, and an MFA in poetry from University of California, Irvine, and a PhD in poetry and literature from University of Houston. She is a professor at California State University, Long Beach. So please welcome Patty Seyburn.
I'm going to read entirely new poems because it's fun to do that, and I want to try them out and see how they go. So this first poem is called Ode to Simultaneity. Scott Joplin died in a mental institution the year my father was born in Toronto. The final card in his parents' hand, almost enough for a game of gin. King of ragtime, Joplin suffered a breakdown when his opus work, Tremonisha, met with no success. Another genius depressive, Rachmaninoff, felt stifled by being asked to play Prelude in C-sharp minor at every concert. He died in Los Angeles after a period of relative unproductivity and Slavic melancholy, a description of tone, not a diagnosis. The year my parents married in the rabbi's study in Detroit, before they boarded trains to Edmonton, Alberta, where my father served in the war, flying cargo planes to Alaska. Abraham Maslow, famed psychologist known best for his hierarchy of needs, developed the concept of self-actualization, leading to that of cognitive dissonance and the study of motivation. What makes one proceed in the face of suffering, misery? Compared with these men, my parents lived small lives that wove through great moments of inspiration and creation. But here I am, suturing them all together with the sturdy twine of the 20th century. How time unifies the disparate, how time loves us, and as Thackeray said, makes fools of us all. Thank you. That's a happy little ditty. Starting with Scott Joplin died in a mental institution. You're like, oh, great. This is called Against Weltschmerz. I'm very much drawn to these German words that have very complicated meanings, and we don't have English words that are really the equivalent. I will tell you that Weltschmerz means something like world weariness. So today, I am relying on the 7 Greeks for solace. The 7 Greeks and leftovers. Broccoli, soggy chopped salad, and half an avocado. A serpentine gesture of olive oil and 3 drips of soy sauce. This is delicious. My husband says he dated a girl who said "delish" in high school, and this made me love him more. I hope she is thriving. Archilochus is my favorite, and I think Diogenes and I would have spent many hours at Sid's Bar on Old Newport Boulevard in Costa Mesa before pest inspectors rightly closed it. I have come to debase the coinage, he wrote. If you do not find that funny, we probably have no basis for friendship. This is not a threat. I am not the only friend out there. And we each offer a different range of trills and bird songs. You know I am fond of the common loon. Its eerie aria is not for everyone. Archilochus disapproved of Thracian updos and claims the fox's 11 tricks don't compare with the hedgehog's 1 trick. I like hedgehogs, the Greeks, and leftovers. On this day, I believe the world weariness will fade, much as dew fades. I am also fond of dew, how it is reliable and ephemeral, all at once. Thank you. I got much more time. This is kind of since I know there are a lot of poets here, I can read this little kind of in-joke poetry poem. It's short, so if you're, and it's basically because I love Coleridge. He's my favorite poet, my favorite, and so this is kind of a lot of Coleridge jokes. Yeah, and it's called I, and What Then? And this quote actually comes from one of his famous quotes, which is, he said, and I'm not gonna get it quite right. He said, if a man went to paradise in a dream and awoke with a flower in his hand as a sign that he had been there, aye, and what then? So it's kind of a cool quote. So that's what this is called. Aye, and what then? I am taking applications for the position of Coleridge in my life. The job is part-time, but the hours are quixotic. The candidate should be a strong meanderer and terribly good friend with an ear for iambics. Of course, this person should be a better poet than I am, but wear it lightly. I will keep the amulet that guards against envy in my left palm at all times. It is chalcedony, the chameleon of mendacious minerals. Own a walking stick, nothing too hoary. Candidate must know someone from Porlock and enjoy a good potluck. Loquacity required, as is a penchant for great birds. Appropriate anxiety concerning water sports. Pay is meager, but the benefits are mostly imaginary. Office in a measureless cavern. So this is like, if you really love Coleridge, this is hysterical. But if you don't, it's not so hysterical. But I think it's sort of funny. A lot of Coleridge in jokes. Today's flutter of questions. I know that the sparrows are not talking to me. Their speech seems to favor a few key phrases. Found food, found shelter, predator alert, torture that worm, good work on that nest. Kvetching, prayer, praise, discourse on existence, vacation plans. Are some birds more voluble than others? Snow White spoke saying to bluebirds. St. Francis preached to a literal flock clothed in feathers. Adel, daughter of the Baal Shem Tov, also conversed with avian friends. Silence. Birds. Where did you go? I liked eavesdropping on you. Thank you. This is sort of a strange poem. I like doing some research for poems, just the things that interest me. So this is called The Problem with Richard. The problem with Richard Owen is that he'd never admit he was wrong. He thought only humans have the hippocampus minor. As it turns out, apes and monkeys have that too. This 19th century melee became known as the Great Hippocampus Question. Wouldn't you like to come up with a great question or be part of an important conversation? Have you ever seen an okapi? A large browsing mammal of the giraffe family, a dark chestnut coat with stripes on hindquarters and upper legs, also known as a zebra giraffe, solitary sorts, and even the African unicorn by 19th century Europeans. This creature is an even-toed ungulate. And Richard Owen coined that term along with another famous name for the terrible reptile or fearfully great reptile, dinosaur. I do love namers, even when they get things wrong. Owen criticized Darwin's theory of evolution, sort of. He agreed it occurred, but thought it more complex. He was a stubborn one, that Owen, like my favorite lady of Scripture, Eve. You can object, if you like, to the word lady if you have extra time in your day, but I find the word lovely. My mother surely was a lady. I am not such a good lady, but this is not her fault. She tried. Eve named everything her big eyes lit upon, her life one big I spy, and she won every game, though she paid all the mamas paid, with pain and labor. I do mean pain. Such an abstract word for something so potent, but then you forget. Shirley forgave, but never forgot. I'm sorry, Ma, for all the pain I caused you. My own kinder were no easy birth or birth. How nice when language makes friends. If that's consolation, that dynamic will not evolve. Despite twilight sleep and epidurals, Richard Owen got some things right. And I've seen many a dinosaur in museums with very specific names, mostly built of elaborate prefixes, Latin for big or mean or fast, but they all fall under his umbrella, terrible and fearful and dead. No. This is short. This is called Metaphysics and You. At some point, you learn to turn on the flame, then how to adjust it for proper heat. A small pat of butter travels the pan. You crack one egg, then two, then three. There are many techniques. You need not be a chef de cuisine or one-handed wonder. The word spatula comes from ancient Greek and Latin. I'm sad that plural is spatulas, not spatulae, like alumnae. We have all graduated from somewhere, such as the school of scramble and over easy and omelet. I don't recall learning any of them. Safe to say it was sometime after I learned to turn on the flame. I have sort of a Prometheus obsession, so I want to read a poem that includes Prometheus, if I can find it. But I'm going to read this one first, because there's another egg in it. And I know, yeah, that's continuity. I go to a farmer's market near me, and they have a very large farmer's market, and there are people who sell eggs, and there's a very long egg line. There'll be 80 people in the egg line, and it's a big farmer's market. And clearly there's some word of mouth about these eggs, and I have shared this with people like, oh, the eggs are really good. I don't know, I think we're all just making it up, but this is called Riddle Me This. I will not wait in the egg line today. It winds around the kefir and hummus stand, past the fishmonger who sells me white sea bass and trout. There's heirloom cauliflower and Napa cabbage, blood oranges to sample, and mushrooms from outer space sold by a lovely couple who really know their fungi. But I will not wait in the egg line today. 3 sides of a giant square. It's Beach Boys T-bird weather, and I forgot my new bucket hat, but my sunglasses are fake Chanel, and I look hot in and through them. There's a guitar player, and I asked for In the Beginning by Emerson, Lake and Palmer and gave him a pluote. He laughed and played the introduction, before veering into Amy by Pure Prairie League, which I also would have bartered for, but I will not wait in the egg line today. Today, though they have duck and quail eggs too, and the insides of the browns are wonderfully, weirdly orange, sunset orange. Oh, this gorgeous world. The sky is scramble and fry, and nobody dances sober, said my buddy Cicero, my favorite Roman skeptic. Thank you. Yeah. Yes, Cicero. This is, I'm going to keep an eye on the time. 35 years. After an evening of mahjong, where I won one game of 5 and tried to be welcoming to new Louise because, as Deb said, your friends are a little intimidating. And after eating 5 of those Delco cookies fast, when I have been so good on my intermittent fasting and obsessive yoga, as well as a dozen bulbous cherries because Ina only gets the best. She is Russian, a dentist, the most devoted mother in the world. After an evening where Lori made a hand entirely of winds so quickly, you know, the household gods were guiding her tiles during the Charlestons and giving us the illusion of free will, my favorite illusion, so we would pass her those she's needed. After an evening of friendship, competition, sauve blanc, and high-end snacks, I came home to everyone asleep, and the fact of 35 years since my father died, odd milestones, round numbers provide, and then the Jewish ones, 18, next year 36, and when I'd had him for as many years as I had not, and then the year he would have been 100 5 years ago if he'd only held on 30 more years, and it almost makes me laugh to say stupid stuff like that after all this mishigas. I asked my dad to show up in a dream, which has not happened now for decades, and I slept poorly, as is befitting my stage, and Marty, my mammogram tech, came to me in that dream and said, "Friend," she always calls me friend, "we have to check for 3 more terrible diseases," and I thought maybe I should ask her about nutrition. All this random banality compiled in one dream, but no dad at all. All right, I will read a couple more. Not all these. I always overprint out. I know it's sort of terrifying. So this is called, well, there's donuts in this poem, so I should read it. It's called Breadcrumb Trail. I wish I had eaten more mini donuts that night and shot a picture of my son kissing cute Emma Turner on the cheek. Regret is a lousy word for an anagram. Extremely unfertile, proving its only purpose is to make you feel guilty for talking about someone else's kid dressing like a whore, even though yours kind of did too, or to make you feel stupid for not seizing moments that would have provided pleasure without hurting anyone. You'd still have 10 pounds to lose now if you'd eaten more miniature donuts, fried on the spot and doused in powdered sugar and assorted glazes, served in a paper cone. Emma Turner would still have gone off to that Christian college where she makes jewelry, necklaces, and small hoops with small pearls, stars and suns, moons, initials. You always liked that, Emma Turner, and donuts. Anyone who knows you knows your love of the cruller, so light, so airy, so French. Though they make a solid effort at Mag's Donuts, run by a lovely Korean family, that's where everyone goes, before PTA meetings and staff meetings and meetings of assorted addictions and Bible studies, scrapbooking, city councils, HOAs. And I'm sorry about mentioning how I felt about that girl's sartorial choices, especially knowing that her mom wore thigh-high boots to a morning service. And yes, I thought that was inappropriate. Apple tree, yes, I have opinions, I do judge. Oh, tiny women of Haddam, must you wear those boots on this holy occasion when that gloriously awkward boy chants Torah, his voice breaking like Tennyson's Sea? I try to listen but keep thinking of Nancy Sinatra, then Peggy Lee, is that all there is? And then we're off to the races with Ennui riding shotgun. Peggy, there is more, there must be more. The closing song, Adon Olam, is one I know all the words to, all 6 verses from my childhood, where it seems all I did is memorize the words to everything, and now I wish I'd taken ballet. Now I wish I'd pleaded with Shirley Seyburn, please, Mom, please let me take ballet, and maybe tap and jazz, but that's yet another regret. What you get because singing this boring song with a boring tune in Hebrew is not the best use of my brain cells, and people look at me because they don't know all the words. They were not raised in the classical reform movement of the 1970s. All that memorizing was the least we could do, considering we were practically Protestants. That's a pretty good band name, if I do say so. Why didn't I start a band? I can sing a little, I can play guitar a little. Oh, regret. Can't you do better than greet, get, tree, and tea? If I uppercase you, can't you play Misty or Melancholy Baby? Sing out, Louise, sing out. Ethel Merman, you are the goddess of out loud, demanding your kinder rise to her potential. And eventually, Louise becomes Gypsy Rose Lee. Clearly, I've lost my mind. Yeah, I know that. Thank you. I think I'm going to read 3 more poems, and then I like this. I like this little one. What Flaubert said. What Flaubert said. Stay away from stonefish. They are ugly and deadly. And sleep like the snail for 3 years. If you need a substitute fingerprint, consult with the koala. For parenting lessons, consider the pigeon. The barn owl is prone to divorce, and the male ends up with a less attractive partner. You can envy the axolotus, its ability to grow new body parts, but the real winner, the Turritopsis dohrnii, is immortal, transforming from its medusa form back into polyps when threatened. There is not a particle of life that does not have poetry in it. Thank you. Hold on. Okay, I'm bringing this home. So this is called Tent Your Fingers, and this is my penultimate poem. In Vinyasa 2 at 6:30 a.m., a noble endeavor, humble flamingo and humble warrior, though I can't figure out where the weight should be to execute the elegant and gawky pink creature's namesake pose. I'm thinking on the hands, and then I could tilt or lightly rock like the weatherbird tchotchke, but I am not successful, today or yet. My hands, wrists, arms, weak links. I seem to leave my balance in the 1980s, struggling to resemble a wobbly tree or eagle. Humility is the fulcrum of practice here in Costa Mesa on the corner where studio meets bridal shop and budget gas, not like at the establishment I will not name, let us be generous, in North Laguna Beach. Mission control for an approach through heat, baptism by sweat, but there are too many show-offs performing complex inversions, headstands, handstands on one hand, one finger, forehead, forearm, 8-angle, destroyer of the universe pose, then discussing the delectable deprivation of raw foodism, one of my least favorite isms. I believe in the cook. If you know me at all, you know I'm a fan of fire. Literal and metaphorical, literary, historical, and yes, aesthetic. It is so pretty. Don't you think it's pretty? I have sat and watched fire consume a hill, a dangerous thrill. We know this element here in SoCal. We set preferable fires, backfires. You know the party question. If you could have dinner with anyone in history, Prometheus would be at the head of my table, and we'd have to thank him for just about every dish, save some berries, maybe drizzled in port, or gazpacho, or ceviche. Sure, a salad. Jet haben wir den Salat. Now we have the salad, a German phrase for when chaos reigns. I prefer my flame controlled, coming only when beckoned or instigated by me. On balance, I think civilization is a good thing, and community is a good thing. And I like that my fingers can contribute, making small shapes to shelter the air molecules beneath, bracketing one of my legs so I remain even in my distribution, even in my temper, even if I fall over when I lean forward in Warrior One. I am not too fierce, more of a flamingo in my head, in love with the idea of potential as my brain tries to talk my arms into a straight, strong line. Not this time, maybe tomorrow. I grow with age into my great pinkness. Thank you. So I'm going to finish with this. Thank you all for having me. You know I love reading and I love seeing everybody here, so thank you. And thank you to my wonderful husband. This is what I call progress. Today I had 3 ideas and 2 brainstorms. Yesterday, I learned 1 new concept and 4 new facts. The facts were compelling, but useless. Tomorrow, I plan to implement small but significant changes. The day after, I will decide if my feelings can be best described as a marshmallow, grape, or potato. I also plan to write a story of a girl who went forth to learn fear. Everything I remember, qualifies as fiction divided into moieties of memory. One of today's ideas was a keeper, I'm sure. The brainstorms were nothing new related to the eucalyptus trees that threaten the smaller shrubs below them by hogging the light, and the crows who intimidate the vulnerable twits. That is not their name, but sometimes my ideas involve new assignations. I am my neighborhood's Eve. I ran uncontested. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.